Hi, Mr. Kpebu. It's good to have you on the show. Good morning.
Yes, morning. Good.
All right. Well, the latest is that the president has instructed the labor minister to address, the employment minister to address the issues that labor has raised regarding the sale of the SSNIT's stake in the hotels. That's the action the president is taking. Do you envisage that will resolve the matter?
Hopefully. I say hopefully because once he has kick-started the process for engagement, then it's possible the outcome of the engagement may be a cancellation of the transaction. That's, ultimately what we want, right? Yes. But earlier on, I was monitoring you guys, and I think Raymond or yourself mentioned that, but what happens in the interim? Can we get an injunction? I'm using the word injunction. I think I can use it as an ordinary word. We are not in the court of law.
Right.
So that, can they stop the process while they engage? Because that's very key. Because if they are engaging and at the same time the transaction is ongoing, then it may well happen that by the time they are done engaging, then a sample will have the hotels in his bag.
Right.
That would be too bad.
Now, the instruction is for the employment minister to address labor's issues. There are some who are reading into this that the president believes that the problem is that labor just needs explanation for what is happening. And so he has asked the employment minister to give that explanation. Is that your reading of the instruction from the president?
No. That would mean that they couldn't engage at all. Because if it's just explanation, TUC has a lot of muscle. And I think last week I saw Dr. Yao warn the president that, look, they better do the right thing, right? Yeah, so I don't think TUC would take such a very small scoop. I believe that's a full discussion where TUC will advance arguments to show why this hotel should not be sold to Granny Temple for a song. Yeah.
Now, of course, this is in response to a petition. Organized labor actually petitioned the president to halt the sale of the hotels. Now, the president did not address the fact that his agric minister is the one buying the hotels. His instruction does not involve the agric minister at all. Is that to presuppose that the president on his own doesn't see anything wrong with his agric minister buying the hotels?
Absolutely. And it is stock in trade. Because the first comment one would have expected is that the president, I also see what he means. Yes, but the fact that the president will not condemn the transaction in itself is worrying. So to just ask for engagement means that the president, in a way, supports the conduct of his agric minister. Because considering the fact that he has no certificate from the Speaker of Parliament to engage in business, that's contrary to Article 78 Clause 3, right? And also the conflict of interest, etc. I expected the president to take his side, be on the side of Ghana, and to reprimand the agric minister publicly. So for the president to take a very diplomatic route to just say they should engage, that in itself is not enough. But then again, are we surprised? The president is so corrupt and he encourages corruption everywhere. So you expect that he will publicly condemn it. When he was
Mr. Kpebu, I apologize for the interjection. I suppose without actual evidence of corruption, we will have to take exception to you suggesting the president is corrupt.
Oh, the president is very corrupt. Very corrupt. He knows that. And the statistics show it. You know his performance on the corruption perception index, right?
Yes, that's a perception.
For the past 4 years.
We cannot independently verify that President Akufo-Addo is corrupt, just to say that. But please continue.
Oh, but you know his involvement in the Ameri deal. He was involved in, they passed the contract by $800 million. $800 million. Could you let's no joke with this thing? The president was left in a transaction that they padded the contract with by $800 million. we're lucky the NGC got wind of it, and then, that led to the sacking of Ablakwa, right?
Okay.
Yes. So, yeah. I mean, it's not something we play. Akufo-Addo is very corrupt.
Let's return to the issue.
Rich. I've forgotten about the bonds. He said one of the definitions of corruption is that there should be no family and friends. So his corruption started right from the appointment of Okudzeto as finance minister. We borrow and their family makes money because data banks make their share from the bonds. Please, nobody should tell me Akufo-Addo is not corrupt. That's the evidence I've given you.
Okay.
Akufo-Addo's definition of corruption is that family and friends is corruption. So for all the family members is appointed into office, that's the first sign of corruption. Then number two, the money they make. Yes, please.
Okay, Mr. Kpebu, let's get back to the issue at hand, which is the sale of SSNIT's stake in these hotels. Now, for some, the issue of SSNIT selling the hotels, whether it's subject to debate or not, whether the hotels should be sold or not, is not as important as the issue of who is buying them and the inherent conflict of interest here. But there are so many examples of this conflict of interest. So many other people who are closely connected to the state, who either acquire state property or get contracts with government. It's become so normal. And I don't even know where to start the examples from. We could go as far back as, 40s, the buying merchant bank. You could go as far back as, all kinds of government contracts being given to brothers and family members of the presidents, past and present. All kinds of deals being signed by the finance minister for his family for his companies to benefit from Eurobonds and all of that. It has become so normal that some are saying, well, why complain when one more minister is buying, a few government hotels?
Yeah, I'm happy to see you've come round to the bonds. That is it. Everybody and corruption there, they are bad feelings. Sorry. Profound, right?
Please, let's get back to the issue at hand.
Yes, okay. Well, it's because we must keep complaining. Silence is not an option. I now understand why some people say, yes, this country would never make it out of this corruption doldrum, right? And I understand. But please, we are young. We have a lot of energy. Let's keep at it. Eventually, these politicians will yield. At least now it's become very clear to us as a nation that both NDC and MPP, they are bad guys, right? So after this election, I'm sure eventually we may get a third fourth, and then we'll attempt something. So we cannot keep quiet. Silence is not an option. This is how America was built. They were also openly corrupt, brazenly corrupt, but eventually they've gone forward, they've sanitized the system. Of course, corruption still thrives there, but it's better than ours. The UK, the same, right? I mean, I've followed a bit of American history. You hear about the Kansas-Nebraska Act in the 1800s. Open corruption, electoral corruption, how Kansas and Missouri would join the U.S., and then there were electoral fraud. I mean, so many corruption cases. We would never finish the
Even the Watergate scandal.
Yes, hello?
Yes, even the Watergate scandal more recently.
Yes. And of course, let's quickly mention that it was what FBI deputy director who reported it. The deep throat source. Yes, Felt was deputy director of FBI, and he leaked it, and then Nixon eventually lost his office. So that is how a nation is built. We need to keep at it. And then the leakers, those who leak information, we have to celebrate them. They have to keep at it. One story at a time. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. I hear you every time you talk. Then you kind of raise my hope. You, Raymond Apa, Winston, Samson Ladi, Ajenede, Nana and Sakwa, etc. Right? So let's keep at it. Silence is not an option. No, let's just keep the conversation going. It doesn't matter that sometimes we lose, or even most of the time we lose. But we make progress. Let me give you an example. The Okudzeto Federal hearing in Parliament. Yeah, it's ultimately the law, but you see how the conversation spreads. Today, where is Okudzeto? We have no standing in our society. Look at the president. The president has no standing in our society. and so on and so forth. So that's a joke. We've made progress because they've been named and shamed. As soon as they leave office, these are not people, Joy FM, you will be organizing a program and you will invite them. No, because you know that as soon as you invite them, people will even boo at them. Even Kwame Nkrumah, Ghanaians booed at Kwame Nkrumah, much less Akufo-Addo and Euphoria in their ilk, right? So that's progress we are making. Let's continue, even if we lose.
Speaking of continuing the conversation, Mr. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa joins us. He's the Honourable Member of Parliament for North Tongue. He's the petitioner on this SSNIT deal. He's the one who has filed the petition with Shraj. Mr. Ablakwa, can you hear us? Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Koyo.
Wonderful. We can hear you loud and clear. So, I mean, we've been hearing Martin Kpebu's take on the president's latest move. He has asked the employment minister to address Labour's concerns. A step in the right direction?
Good morning to you, good morning to Martin, good morning to all listeners. This cannot be a step in the right direction. The president is passing the buck, pretending he doesn't have final authority, pretending that he cannot solve this problem for us by a single directive. What we want the president to do is to ask his appointees to stop this unconscionable, illegal, dubious sale. A single directive. This is not the time to be pretending to be solving a problem, asking for meetings. Labor union should go and meet the Minister for Employment, after go and meet the board, and all of that. The president should show leadership. He should show decisiveness. This is the president who told us that none of his appointees will be allowed to use public office, the appointments that he will give them, to do business, to do transactions that will make them millionaires and billionaires using public office. And that if people want to make money, as for him, his government is not for making money. It's not for business deals. They should stay in the private sector. Is that not what President Akufo-Addo told us? So if you gave this very laudable directive, a pledge that all of us applauded, civil society, anti-corruption crusaders, we all said, oh, this is a president who is really going to stamp his authority, make sure that there's no conflict of interest during his tenure, that people will come and focus. If state assets are under your care, you are either taking good care of them or expanding to create more of those state assets for the next generation and generations unborn. We all applauded the president. Now he is faced with a test. This is the time we expect him to show that what he told us was not just one of those usual empty rhetorics as we have come to discover. So the president should issue a firm directive asking all, look, those who are selling SSNIT, the one buying from his cabinet are all his appointees. By just one single directive that all of you back off. We have listened to the outrage of Ghanaians. We have heard the uproar. We have seen the upheaval. So all of you remember what I told you at the beginning of my tenure, that my government is not for deal making, it's not for conflict of interest, it's not for making money. So all of you back off. That is what we expect from the president. Not this rigmarole, wanting to waste our time, waste scarce resources to be holding meetings, and only God knows what will emerge from those meetings. Look, this is totally unnecessary.
Do we still have Mr. Ablakwa on the line? I think that the line has been muted, Mr. Ablakwa, by accident. If you can unmute so we can hear you. If you can hear us, Mr. Ablakwa, the line has been muted. Can you unmute? Right, we're working on reconnecting to Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa. Yes. Yes, we can.
Hello,
hear you
can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Yes. So if you can
hello?
make that last point again, please.
Yes, so I'm making the point that if you look at all the statements that have been issued, the ones by SSNIT, all the attempts to justify this deal, they claim that these are hotels struggling and that there's an urgent need for capital injection and there is an urgent need for strategic investors to bring in efficiency and all of that. I have secured virtually all the financial statements of Labadi Beach Hotel, including the 2023 management accounts. Kojo, I have just shared excerpts. I'm serializing it. I'm going to send you all of these financial statements as conducted by Deloitte.
Right.
Labadi Beach Hotel is more profitable than we have ever imagined. Can you believe that as we speak, Labadi Beach Hotel has more than 54 million Ghana cedis in 5 bank accounts, cash. They are cash in reserve that they are not touching. 54.8 million Ghana cedis. If you look at Labadi's financials, 2022, they posted a gross profit of 70.7 million Ghana cedis. A year after, it has more than doubled to 158.4 million Ghana cedis. You look at their outcomes, Kojo, you discover from their outcomes, their business operations, that this company 2022 they had a turnover of 120.4 million. Just a year after, it's gone up to 188 million Ghana cedis. This company is so liquid. It is so profitable, a going concern. And look, this is after they have paid dividends, they have paid taxes, they've paid all their workers. Look, their workers even, they are doing so well that their workers have been given loans and all of that. This is a company able to do corporate social responsibility. If you read the Deloitte reports, that only last year, they went to the leprosarium and spent about 299,000 Ghana cedis just feeding all of these unfortunate brothers and sisters who are lepers. Almost 300,000 cedis. I mean, that's how well this company is doing. Their assets are appreciating. So it is more profitable than we have ever thought. So where from this claim that these are struggling hotels and that there's an urgent need for cash injection, efficiency, and all of that? And the irony is that I have obtained the financials of Rock City. Will you believe that Labadi Beach is doing far, far better, more than 10 times better than Rock City? If there's any hotel which should be swallowing the other, Rock City should come and learn from Labadi. Rock City rather needs Labadi's help. So what's going on here? It cannot be that Labadi is struggling, is about to go down, is not profitable. That is why it has to be sold. I am now clear in my mind that some people in government have seen the books of Labadi. They've seen all of these cash reserves in 5 banks, and they are seeing how profitable it is, and they just want to grab it. That is what is at stake here.
Mr. Ablakwa, I suppose it's only right that I point out that, I mean, it's not always the case that the company buying the other must be bigger. Sometimes a smaller company can take over a bigger one when they have backing and they have expertise. It does happen. But are you saying, by your reckoning, since you've given such a clear picture of the profitability of Labadi Beach Hotel, that if any of the other hotels are not making profit, you would then back their sale?
Not at all. Remember that I have said, as a matter of principle, that I am not convinced that these hotels should be sold. We are talking about pension funds. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years from now, people will be retiring. Ghana will still have workers. who have to be taken care of. And these investments, don't forget, were made by the toils and sweat of Ghanaian workers. These are hotels that clearly, even the few that are struggling, like Elmina, La Palm, they were very profitable until recently. It tells you that it's a managerial issue. Look at how Rich Royal, look at how Labadi are doing well. Right after COVID, even when internationally, the hospitality industry is struggling and still, only now recovering. As soon as 2021, after COVID, and even COVID was still lingering, Labadi started posting huge profits. I mean, remarkable. So if Ghanaian managers, all Ghanaian managers, there's no foreigner at Labadi, can do so well, why don't you rather even ask them to take interest in La Palm, not far away from Labadi, Elmina, Buzia Bay, Trust Lodge, and the rest? In any case, if you look at some of the management practices of a hotel like La Palm, how can somebody be made to act as managing director, and within 6 months, the person is demanding $18,000, $3,000 a month? Why won't La Palm struggle? So it's a management issue. You need to consider the fact that these are hotels that are so well located. They are prime locations. The land upon which these hotels were built have really appreciated over the years. These are valuable resources, and they can be turned around. The few that are not doing well can be turned around. So it is not accurate to just paint all these hotels with the same brush. It reveals a certain motive which is not noble, which is not sincere, which is not honest. And if you look at all the breaches, the arm twisting that has gone on with this deal, the lack of due process, if you look at how even constitutionally, the Honorable Brian Champon was not supposed to be anywhere near this transaction, having failed to comply with Article 78 and Article 98 of the Constitution. And yet he's forcing to stay on and hang on to this deal. I mean, what's going on here? So my point is that these hotels should not be sold. It's just a management issue with the few that are not doing well. Indeed, the story of Labadi and Ridge Royal should tell you that hotels can be profitable under the SSNIT investment portfolio. And that with the right management, the right people, these hotels will all be profitable. Because look at, La Palm, even, do you know La Palm has more facilities than Labadi? La Palm has bigger halls, bigger conference centers, more rooms than Labadi. So if Labadi, and the same location, same stretch, just a 5-minute walk apart, and Labadi could be doing so well, why can't La Palm do well? So it tells you that it's just a managerial issue.
Right.
And so these attempts to come up with stories that are not adding up, the lack of sincerity, look, they should treat us with respect. Okay. Why is it that up to now, SSNIT is failing to publish all those who participated in this tender, their documents? Why are they failing to do that?
Mr. Ablakwa, SSNIT has sort of mounted a defense, suggesting that the decision was made, first of all, by the previous board, not this current one, though, the board that ended their tenure in 2021. And they came to that conclusion because generally they decided that SSNIT had no business in hotels. They talked about the problems they were having before then, with some of the hotels coming to them for money to pay for electricity, money to pay for salaries, money to pay for SSNIT contributions for their workers. SSNIT even had to send SSNIT staff to work at some of the hotels. And following such mismanagement, and in fact, the only hotel that was doing well at that time was Labadi Beach Hotel, and it was costing them about $3 million a year in management fees to get that outcome from Labadi Beach Hotel. So they decided as a general rule that SSNIT has no business in managing hotels and therefore decided to sell them. What do you think of that defense?
This defense is very spurious, with all due respect. Again, they are not being sincere with the facts. The claim that Labadi has some management contract which is costing 3 million cedis. The financial statements in my possession I have read indicate that that management contract with Legacy was long abrogated, long ago. And SSNIT is not paying anybody 3 million cedis. If you look at the financials, it is rather Labadi that is making money for SSNIT. Last year, Labadi paid SSNIT 25 million cedis in dividends. The year before, 10 million cedis. The current financial statement I'm reading for 2023, it means that Labadi will pay SSNIT even higher dividends than the 25 million they paid last year because they've done better currently. Then you come to consider the fact that in addition to all of these dividends, Labadi has paid taxes in excess of 20 million. So let us speak to facts, let us speak to the numbers. It is not true that Labadi has been a drain or has been a liability on SSNIT. You see, the lack of candor, the lack of sincerity. And then you look at the other hotels. They were profitable until recently. That's La Palm and Elmina. And it is because of bad management practices, sending incompetent people that they themselves have admitted. La Palm, for example, they've had 3 changes in management. They themselves. And they have tried to blame politicians, that politicians asked them to employ people they knew were not competent and had no training in hospitality and could not do a good job. So why accept such imposition? We should learn in this country to be firm when you are giving positions. If your leadership decisions will not be respected, you can resign to make a point. You can resign. I don't know why people only sit back and complain in our country that, I don't have a free hand. They are not allowing me to implement my vision. There's a lot of manipulation, a lot of interference. It's going to lead to the collapse of a vital entity under your watch. And you allow that to continue. You allow it to continue. You don't take a firm position and you don't resign to make a point. I resigned from the appointments committee. I'm not dead. Lai Ekinsi has resigned recently to make a point. We need to encourage that culture. So this mediocrity and excuses so as to continue to just, tag along. Look, if these hotels were that worthless and unprofitable, why are the same politicians who took this decision at cabinet, why are they hell-bent on owning them? It doesn't make sense to me. Which investor will want to throw their money away on worthless, useless projects? You say the hotels are not profitable. It's such a drain. It is bad news. And yet, the politicians who are telling us this are the same people turning around to buy it. Kojo, is this logical?
Okay. All right. I want to say a big thank you to you both for your contributions. You've certainly given us a lot to think about. This conversation is nowhere near the end. The president has asked for the employment minister to address labor. Let's see what labor says about that. But this matter obviously is not at an end. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is the Honourable Member of Parliament for North Tongue. He has petitioned Shraj on the SSNIT deal. Martin Kpebu, of course, a private legal practitioner and a very regular commentator on governance issues. Thank you both for your time.